What's going on, y'all? It's early in the morning. I can't sleep or go back to sleep. So I was scouring YouTube and I seen a video about Terence Crawford where he was giving an interview by some girl and they were talking about the Errol Spence fight. Before I get into that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, really like, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now, before I actually get to what he said in this interview, let me give you background about how I feel about Bud. I've had Bud Crawford, my number one pound for pound, for the last 2.5 years. I would say that's probably about right. 2.5 years. Yes, I've had him over Lomachenko way before Lomachenko lost. Just always thought Bud was the best fighter out there. With that being said, I also feel like if Errol Spence Jr. and Bud Crawford were to fight, I think Bud would probably win. But here's what I did not like about this interview I listened to. He was saying that he would give Spence a fight and Spence gave him a 60-40 split where Bud was getting the 60 and Spence was getting the 40. And I'm thinking to myself, bruh, you already pricing yourself out of the fight. Like, you're not worth that. You are not worth that. Errol Spence Jr. is the money man at welterweight. Whenever people talk about A and B side, I don't really think they understand the economics behind it. I always like to point to Adrian Broner. Whenever Adrian Broner fights anybody outside of, say, Pacquiao, he's the A side. Why? Because he brings the most money to the table because people pay to watch him fight. Errol Spence Jr. is the A side. Why? Because he's a pay-per-view star. Crawford is a TV star, I guess, if he keeps doing like free ESPN TV fights. But they just, marketability is not the same. Errol Spence is way more marketable, and I could be getting ahead of myself because we don't know if Spence is the same after the car wreck, but I'm assuming he is. And if he is, and he beats Danny Garcia, there's no way in hell Errol Spence is going to entertain giving Bud Crawford a fight and only taking 40% of the pot. I'm sorry. No, Bud, you got to humble yourself. But I believe you are the best fighter out there. But sometimes to prove that you are the best, you got to take a step back to be able to take a step forward. Or I should say, take one step back to be able to take two steps forward. This has been done by people who made a lot more money than you, had bigger names than you, accomplished more than you. Case in point, Floyd Mayweather Jr. He sat back. He gave Oscar everything Oscar wanted, from the gloves to the stipulations to the bigger pot. And what ended up happening? He's a billionaire because of it. So sometimes, Bud, it doesn't matter how skillful you are. You got to step back. Let the other person who sells more than you get the bigger pot so you can get the fight. And when you beat them, you inherit their money. That's how boxing has always been. When you beat the guy on top, everything he has, you take from him. You take it, assuming that you can beat him the first time. And if there's a rematch clause, you can beat him the second time. Everything he has is all yours. And the thing about the rematch clause is you can put in the contract, the stipulation is you get 60-40 the first fight, I get 60-40 the next fight. There's ways around it to where you can come out 50-50 without being 50-50 unless you lose. And then, you took a gamble and it didn't pay off. But the only way to really get ahead is to take gambles. And that's all I wanted to say is, like, I want to see the fight. Boxing fans want to see the fight. Even boxing casuals want to see the fight. I don't believe Errol Spence Jr. is scared of Bud Crawford, and I don't think Crawford is scared of Errol Spence. But what I do think is Bud is overrating his value. And I'm saying that as a Bud fan, as I like Bud, but y'all know I have one rule. I am unbiased. I call it straight down the line, and I don't fanboy. And I just think Bud's out of line for this. And it's just, I don't see it. Like, you beating weight drain Kell Brook does not mean you're worth more money than Terence. I can't even talk, y'all, because it's so early. Does not mean you're worth more money than Errol Spence. It just doesn't. And maybe this is why Bob Arum was saying that he doesn't want to promote or go broke promoting Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford's asking for too much money when he really is not worth the money that he's asking for. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's just not. Like, you have to be able to sell to get more money. And if you can't sell, then you've got to take less money until you can sell. Again, like I said earlier, simple economics. And nobody who's the breadwinner is going to take less money to fight you when they're worth more than you. And that's how I feel. Again, to conclude, I feel like Bud is already pricing himself out of the fight, and the fight's not even being talked about because Errol Spence Jr. has a fight coming up, and nobody knows what condition he's in after the car wreck. I believe Bud can beat him, but if Bud is going to price himself out, then there is no reason for Errol Spence Jr. to fight Bud Crawford at all. And if he doesn't fight him, then that's Bud's fault. That's how I look at it. Let me know what y'all think. Hit up the comment section. I'm going to try to go back to sleep, but I don't know if I can. I'm super tired.